Kash Patel is suddenly at the center of one of Washington's most closely watched legal battles. What began as a dispute over government records has now escalated into a courtroom confrontation where a federal judge has made it clear that failing to comply with court orders could carry serious legal consequences. For the man leading the FBI, that is an extraordinary position to be in.
Patel has long been known as one of Donald Trump's most loyal allies. Over the years, he built a solid reputation by defending the former president during some of the most controversial investigations in modern American politics. But now, the tables have turned. Instead of defending someone else, Patel finds himself facing intense legal scrutiny of his own.
So, how exactly did the situation reach this point? Part 1. Origins of the dispute. A conflict over records. The dispute traces back to broader investigations involving classified documents. As the legal process moved forward, investigators naturally sought testimony and documents. But according to court filings, disagreements soon emerged over exactly what information should be produced and whether certain communications could remain protected.
On one side, Patel's legal team argued that some of the requested material involved executive privilege, along with other legal protections. The opposing side, however, maintained a hard line. Court orders must be followed, completely regardless of political considerations. That fundamental disagreement is what ultimately landed both sides before a federal judge.
Part 2. The Courtroom Confrontation. Rising Tensions.
Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere reportedly became increasingly tense. The judge repeatedly questioned whether the requested documents had actually been produced in full and whether previous court directives had been followed. As the hearing continued, the court expressed growing frustration with what it viewed as incomplete responses and unacceptable delays in compliance. Now, while no final ruling was issued during that specific exchange, the judge emphasized something critical. He warned that continued failure to obey lawful court orders could result in contempt proceedings. That is a powerful legal mechanism courts sometimes use to strictly enforce compliance.
And for someone serving as the FBI director, even the mere possibility of such a confrontation is highly unusual.
Part 3. Turmoil inside the FBI. Competing narratives.
This controversy arrives during an already turbulent period for the Bureau. Since taking office, Patel has overseen significant personnel changes that have attracted intense praise but also fierce criticism. His supporters argue those decisions were absolutely necessary to restore accountability inside the FBI. Critics, on the other hand, claim that experienced officials were removed for purely political reasons, and those competing narratives have only intensified the public attention surrounding this case.
Adding to the controversy are allegations raised in separate legal filings by former FBI employees. They claim certain staffing decisions were directly influenced by political considerations. It is important to note that those claims remain part of ongoing legal disputes, and they haven't been conclusively established in court. For his part, Patel and his supporters have consistently defended his leadership, firmly rejecting any accusations of improper political retaliation.
Part 4. The broader implications. Expanding the debate.
This courtroom hearing has quickly become part of a much larger national debate. It is no longer simply about documents. The outcome here could shape public trust and confidence in the independence of federal institutions. It could clarify the very limits of executive authority and influence exactly how future disputes between the government and the courts are handled. Meanwhile, lawmakers have continued pressing Patel over his past public statements and his overall approach to leading the FBI. During congressional hearings, senators pointedly questioned whether political loyalty could influence future investigations. Patel responded by stating clearly that any investigation under his leadership would require a legal and factual basis, emphasizing that the FBI should always operate according to the law.
Still, the courtroom proceedings have become the biggest story right now. Legal analysts say the judge's repeated warnings highlight just how seriously federal courts view compliance with judicial orders. You see, contempt proceedings are designed to enforce those orders, not to create political headlines. Whether the dispute actually moves further in that direction will entirely depend on future hearings and how both sides respond to the court's strict instructions.
So it leaves us asking, how independent should federal agencies really be?
Where should executive authority end?
And how should courts respond when senior government officials openly disagree with judicial orders? These questions do not have simple answers, which is exactly why this case has drawn so much national attention.
Part 5. A landmark legal battle. The process is far from over.
No matter where someone stands politically, the outcome of this case could heavily influence the balance of power inside the U.S. government. For now, one thing is absolutely certain: the legal process is far from over. The coming hearings could determine whether this remains just a contentious political dispute or if it becomes a landmark legal case with lasting consequences for our federal institutions. Until the court issues its next major ruling, both supporters and critics of Kash Patel will be watching closely. As new developments emerge, this story is likely to remain one of the most closely followed legal and political battles in Washington. Do you think this case is simply about legal procedure, or could it have broader consequences for the relationship between the courts and the executive branch?